Hi, I'm back. I'm going to read the rest of The Meltdown to Grandson and Titan, or anyone else who wants to listen. This is by, it's one of the Diary Room Wimpy Kid series by Jeff Kinney. It's very good. And Titan loves this book series. Okay, so they were having this big battle during snow day. Well, snow days, there's at least two, and the hill kids against the bottom of the hill kids, battling it out, and forts and snowballs. Ice balls are against the rules. Anyway, eventually, it got so bad. The wall was in ruins, and we were out of ammo. It looks really bad for the hill kids, but then something happened that gave us hope. A group of kids was marching up the hill toward us, and when they got closer, I realized it was the safety patrols. For a brief second, I thought they were there to save us. Tweet, tweet. But they weren't there to help anyone. They were there for revenge. Usually the safety patrols weren't allowed to throw snowballs, but today was a Sunday, and that meant they were free to do whatever they wanted. Safety patrols are kids that help the school to make sure other kids don't fight on the way home, and they arrive safely. Well, today they can throw snowballs, and it's mainly girls that are now on the safety patrol. Half the girls on the safety patrol are on the softball team, and anybody who says girls can't throw hard doesn't know what they're talking about. The battle turned into Surrey Street kids versus safety patrols, and we were outnumbered then. We outnumbered them 2-1, but then half the girls on our street switched sides, and it got really confusing. In the middle of all this, another group came down from the top of the hill. It was the Worley Street kids, who must have gotten kicked off the golf course and came to sled on our street. And once they got into the mix, it was just a total free-for-all. Oh my goodness, just look at that. Everybody's going at it. Just when things couldn't get any crazier, a terrifying sound cut through the air, and everyone stopped to figure out what it was. The only ones on the street who knew for sure were me and Raleigh. Haroo! Then the Mingo kids started pouring out of the woods, looking like they'd just waken up from a 3-month nap. The last Mingo to emerge was Meckley. He was carrying something on top of his stick, and at first I thought I couldn't figure out what it was, but when he got closer, I realized it was Mr. Morsels. That was Greg's hand puppet that he'd lost in the woods on one of the old cars that the Mingo kids had parked out in the woods as their camp. And it got stuck. Greg couldn't get it loose, and now Meckley Mingo has his Mr. Morsels hand puppet. Meckley wasn't wearing his belt, which I thought was strange. Well, he couldn't really, because Greg had found his belt buckle. But seeing that made me remember something, and I reached into my coat pocket and pulled out something cold and metal. You guessed it, his belt buckle. When me and Raleigh were in the Mingo camp, I must have put the belt buckle in my pocket without even realizing it. And now I was in a panic because that meant Meckley Mingo was coming for me. But the only other the only thing kids in my town hate more than each other is the Mingos. So when the Mingos charged, everyone turned to face them. Well, everyone except me. At that point, I'd had enough. When the Mingos came at us, I looked for a good place to hide. There was a big hole in a collapsed section of a wall, so I dove inside, and Raleigh was right behind me. The battle raged on all around us. I didn't see how we were going to get out of this one alive. There they are in their hiding spot. Raleigh didn't think we were going to make it either. He told me that if I survived and he didn't, I could have all his video games. I patted myself down to see if I had a pen so he could put that in writing, but all I had on me was a stupid belt buckle. It didn't matter anyway, because 5 seconds later the ground started shaking. It felt like we were in an earthquake. Roar. I thought we were going to be buried alive, and all I could think of is how the two of us were going to end up in a museum after they dug us out of in a couple of thousand years. Children, 21st century museum. But then the ground stopped shaking, and after a few seconds, we popped our heads out of our hiding spot to see what was happening. The snowplow was 3/4 of the way up the street, mowing through everything in its path. And I didn't know if the snowplow driver couldn't see I don't know if the snowplow driver couldn't see the kids in the road or just didn't care. They kind of made it so his truck couldn't run so that they could have fun in the snow that day, so he probably wasn't too happy with them. By now the snow was melting and everything was turning to slush, and once the plow left our street, it was quiet. The crazy thing is, now that the street was plowed, there really wasn't anything left to fight over, so everyone picked themselves up and went back home. Even the Mingo kids went back to where they came from. Cleared off street. And the truth is, I couldn't really remember what we were all fighting over to begin with. Friday. We've been back at school for a week, and it's warmed up a lot in the past few days. I don't want to curse it or anything, but I think we might have seen the last of the cold weather. So I'm not really worried about the pig anymore. In fact, he's probably somewhere warm by now, having the time of his life. There's still some snow on the ground in my neighborhood, so Mitchell Pickett's been enjoying the snowmobile he bought with all the money he made this winter. So anybody who says that war doesn't pay should think again. He was selling these fancy snow fighting snowballs and propelling instruments for the snowballs. He was trying to make some money off of all their fighting with the snow. Mitchell's not the only one who made out, though. Trevor Nix has been playing hockey down at the bottom of the hill with the Lower Surrey Street kids every day after school, so I guess that's what you get for being a traitor. He's the one that went on the other side and helped them get attacked. But I'm not going to complain. I just am glad I made it through the winter without getting myself killed. The thing I learned about myself is that I'm just not the hero type. Trust me. I'm glad there are people that are like that out there, but the world needs guys like me too. Because if human beings are still around 500 million years from now, it's going to be thanks to Greg Heffley's of the world who figured out a way to survive. He's just playing with the robot. And that's the end. I think this is the latest one so far, I believe. Anyway, check out a Diary of a Wimpy Kid book. I think you'll like them, especially you boys. Maybe the girls too. Bye-bye. I keep forgetting it's not a touch screen.